Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to me, your host, Christian Watson. So, my friends, the bombshell news of the week is that Bill Cosby, America's dad, one of the most formerly beloved people in American pop culture, perhaps not anymore after the events of recent years, was released on June 30th, 2021, yesterday at the time of making this video, and the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania has essentially overturned Mr. Cosby's conviction. Now, this, of course, was met by a chorus of disagreement and anger from many proponents of metoo. A lot of people are saying that this shows that rich men have the ability to escape justice. A lot of people are continuing to inject Cosby's character into this matter of legal precedence, which is not necessarily a matter of character. We'll get to that in a moment. And a lot of people are just, in general, being morally outraged. When I first saw this case, I realized something, though, my friends. This case has the result of this conviction, it being overturned, has very little to do with Cosby and everything to do with the corrupt nature, or the corrupted nature, I should probably say, of the contemporary American criminal justice system. Let me just give you guys here a few facts. So, Cosby was released from prison because the Supreme Court overturned his conviction on the basis that he had an agreement with the prosecutor at the time when he made incriminating statements in a civil case, a prosecutor called Castor, that he would not be prosecuted if he made those statements in that civil case. And so Cosby, with the understanding of that agreement, went ahead and made statements, and Kevin Still, who was the successor of Castor the DA, went in and he decided to upend that, and he decided to prosecute Cosby for the case that he basically waived prosecution for. And not only that, but the court also found that procedurally he was wrong because he brought in 5 other witnesses that were not necessarily related to the case, and the court condemned that as well. And so a lot of people are saying, well, this power-hungry prosecutor is why Cosby got off. It's terrible. But again, they are missing the first principles of the matter. What lies beneath? If all you can see from this case is that a rich man, a famous man, got off on a technicality, in all reality, it's not a technicality, by the way. I'll get into that in a moment. If that's all you can see, then you are spiritually blind from being able to see the concepts at play here. Systems, just like the criminal justice system, are engines of conceptual processes, right? Justice is based on, and we'll get to this in a moment, righting a wrong, and there is a process to righting a wrong. So it's not a technicality, it's a necessity to understand if we are actually righting wrongs correctly. And speaking of justice, this forms the core of my arguments as to why Bill Cosby, in my personal opinion, deserved to get off, even if he has bad character, even if he actually did what he is accused of. There are just certain principles that you cannot violate regardless of any particular circumstance. So, my friends, we have to ask ourselves a few questions before we can address this. What is justice? One of the most fundamental questions of political philosophy. It's been addressed from Aristotle, John Rawls, Robert Nozick. My definition of justice is precisely the definition of justice that the American structure of government is predicated upon. Justice, my friends, is a natural principle which is concerned with the protection of individual rights and, more broadly, the obligations and responsibilities we have towards those rights and consequently other people in society. That is the definition of justice that the American system is predicated upon, and it is based in the idea of natural law, that justice is not merely a legal principle, it is a principle that escapes human legal matters and is based and rooted in nature. Because in nature, we have rights. Rights are a part of our human DNA. Rights are a part of our being. So any just system is going to follow the external just law. Well, here's the problem with what the prosecutors did to Cosby. Number one, it violated the principles of the American structure of government. And number two, it violates the principles of justice that the structure is built upon. So the second claim is going to be essential to proving the first claim. So again, if justice is concerned with protecting individual rights, then this is now a question of process. How do we protect individual rights? Well, the Constitution, albeit an imperfect document, albeit a mortal document, is still the primary document that ensures the legal protection of our natural rights in this country, like it or not. And it is very clear that in this case, Kevin Still violated COSBY's right to due process. He violated COSBY's right of self-incrimination by disparaging and getting rid of an agreement that he made for political purposes. And it is evident that COSBY, that Still violated, again, COSBY's due process by bringing in a bunch of unrelated witnesses, again, to nail COSBY to the cross, so to speak, and to just bury him, when in all reality, those witnesses are people from the 80s, from 40 years ago, who had absolutely nothing to do with Constand's grievances. And Constand was the one who was bringing these claims against COSBY. So the rights, the natural justice, was already not being followed in this case. We have to understand things. When natural justice is violated, because this goes beyond the COSBY case, when natural justice is violated, there are two core things that we need to consider. Number one, the functions that natural justice implies. So the functions of natural justice is to ensure that the American structure of government has a just means by which to dispense certain punishments and by which to handle legal matters. So, if the American system of government is predicated upon the first principle of protecting individual rights, natural justice says, okay, here is this method by which you can do this without actually violating anyone else's rights. Well, when you usurp natural justice and you base prosecutorial decisions on political contingencies like Kevin Still did, you quite literally impair the function of the American structure of government. The American structure of government's principles are just like the principles of any other natural process. The principles of the water cycle, the principles of law and gravity. If these things were to suddenly stop, the functions of our world, the existence that we have right now, would be immediately usurped. And this may seem dramatic, but it's not. Everything has a guiding principle. A car is guided by the principle of motion. If the principle of motion stops in a car, the car can still maybe survive, but it'll probably be hard if the car is in a certain circumstance, but altogether, the car still stops. The American justice system is built upon, but has deviated from significantly, the principle of natural justice. And when the principle of natural justice is violated, it does not, the justice system stops functioning properly, and it becomes a tool of tyranny. This is a matter of violating principles here. Legitimacy is also a problem, because when the function of something is undermined, how does it have the authority to do what it was vested to do? When a car no longer has motion, or a car is significantly impaired, we call it a lemon for a reason, because its legitimacy is undermined. The very legitimacy of the structure of the American government has been undermined by the actions of prosecutors abroad. And this is not just COSBY. COSBY is a microcosm of a broader dereliction of the principles of natural justice upon which our system is built. Prosecutors have been, through the duration of the war on drugs, sending cops in to raid people's assets and take their assets without due process. Prosecutors have been using plea deals as a means of dispensing justice, when in all reality, plea deals simply prey upon people who do not have the legal fortitude to fight back, or who may be scared by the symbol of power. Let me give you some empirical data to back this up. 97% of criminal cases in America, 97%, according to Washington Post, result in plea deals. And according to the American Psychological Association, they found that the earlier a defendant submits to the prosecutor and accepts a plea deal, the more lenient his punishment will be. So there is a perverse incentive for both the prosecutor and the defendant, the prosecutor being his time and his energy, and the defendant being his life, to submit to a plea deal regardless of the nature of their crime, regardless of the content of their crime. Now, natural justice, my friends, is concerned with the content of your crime. Natural justice is concerned with it is a descriptive quality. It's not just this broad idea that exists out in the end. No, it's a descriptive quality, because I can be just or unjust toward a certain person, and I can measure that, and I can account for that. But if my rights are not even being considered in the process in which my rights are supposed to be protected, i.e. the criminal justice process, then the system's functions are deficient and corrupt, and the legitimacy is gone, and prosecutors continue to perpetuate this cycle of illegitimacy. Then, of course, you have to understand something as well. That there are a lot of attorneys who are willing to go in and save their time and money and not pursue trials. Now, this is for a good reason. If every single case in the justice system went for a trial, it would be clogged up and impaired, and it would be bad, right? It wouldn't be efficient. But when justice is sacrificed at the altar of efficiency, the principles of justice are not safe. Prosecutorial reform is what you need to be concerned about. Bill Cosby, look, if what he did is true, and there's sufficient reason to believe it's true, he has a terribly flawed character. And he will face his maker one day and have to answer for those crimes. They are wrong. They are morally abominable. They are disgusting. But this is not about Bill Cosby. This is about a system which claims to be predicated upon certain foundations, which consistently moves away from its foundations every single day, and therefore does not engage in justice, does not engage in natural justice, the only legitimate form of justice that our system can adhere to, given that it's based upon it, but they engage in political tyranny. They engage in tyranny. My friends, we have to demand something high of our prosecutors. We have to do our best. We can start by making sure that prosecutors, their absolute immunity is removed or restricted, because absolute immunity, just like qualified immunity for cops, is a manner in which prosecutors can shield themselves from liability. We got to remove that. We got to make sure that we repeal laws that go against natural justice, that go against the strict protection of rights. So that means a lot of the laws in the books. You got to end the drug war. You got to stop civil asset forfeiture. We got to stop laws that go after arbitrary moral violations. We've got to do our best to revise licensing laws and other things of that sort. We have to set even broader standards, even stricter standards, as to how our prosecutors approach trial. There needs to be all kinds of reforms within the system, and those reforms need to be targeted on the prosecutor. The prosecutor has the ability to make the justice system work for him or work for the principles of justice in so many cases. Especially in the case of Cosby, the prosecutor was trying to make the justice system work for him. And by doing that, our system has been rendered corrupt, and its legitimacy is being questioned every single day. First principles are important, my friend. Don't look at the Cosby situation as simply an instance of a rich man getting off. Look at it as an instance of a prosecutor being rebuffed in his attempt to destroy the system of justice or the principle of justice, and yet not being condemned and pigeonholed from doing so in the future. Think on it, my friends. I love you guys so much. If you love me, patreon.com/officialcwatson, PayPal, officialcwatson@gmail.com, christianwatson@logos.com, or you can join me on Discord and link down below. I love you guys so much, and please stay pensive. Bye, guys.